Yeah, we haven't done it yet, but we're probably going to do a group Zoom call next week. And like Kelly, you were saying, I think the reality is that our teams are not the most. Let's see, what's the word for it? They're not the first to reach out and get involved in a very impactful way. So I think
most of us are on
yeah,
tech team for a reason. We're
yeah,
pretty
of course,
introverted, so
absolutely. And I understand. I know, yeah, like I said, I think Zoom call is going to be the first try, and we're going to see how that goes and see how many people actually join us or respond. And then from there, I know our pastor was just talking to us today. We did a big old like full staff thing. This is the chance to do all the stuff that you've been putting off. So this is the chance to form relationships with your volunteers in a deeper way. Like we have a life connections thing, and I don't really know how many people on our team have actually done that because they've been involved in the weekend. So from the Zoom chat, I'll probably try and encourage them to get involved in that life track connection. I don't know if this is the case for other churches. Right now, we are under the technical mandatory less than 10, but we are still operating on a Saturday night in a production atmosphere with less than 10 people. So I know that is kind of an odd case because I know that's, again, it's a difficult season. But the nice thing is that we are still getting to see at least 5 or 6 of our tech team every Saturday. And then we get to rebroadcast on Sunday, encourage them to join us on that stream as well. So
very cool. Corey, you said you're hosting weekly check-in meetings. What's that look like for you? Have you had good engagement with your volunteers? And everyone nails it when we do tech, and there's a certain type of person who kind of goes to it, and it's kind of hard even sometimes to engage in person. So have those been working out well for you guys?
Yeah, so far. I mean, mostly it's just kind of it's pretty superficial, honestly. But it's just, how are you doing? Did you lose your job? Are you working? Are you working on part-time? And what's going on in Oregon? We've been, a lot of businesses have been shut down by the government, and like a lot of places. I mean, I know we're not unique in that, but we're told to stay home unless you like going to buy groceries. So there's a fair amount of people, especially volunteers, that their job was, involved. They had to be there to do it, and so they're off work right now. So just a chance to talk, pray for each other. One of the big things I'm looking for right now, I'm trying to put together some good material. I mean, it's amazing. There's a lot of material on the internet, but trying to sift through it and find good material to send and say, hey, would you watch these 3 videos? Like, we're not going to be honing our craft for a while, but here's 3 videos I think are worth your time to watch. Learn some more about compression for the audio guys or whatever. I mean, I'm just trying to find some stuff to keep people engaged, because like you said, when we come back from this, whether it's 2 months, 6 months, 4 weeks, whatever, I mean, we need to have a team come back.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, it's awesome. And I mean, keeping it superficial, it's like we set up a team meeting. One of our guys set up a team meeting, and the first time we did it last week, I don't think we had all seen each other for like 2 weeks. And I think we sat and just talked for an hour about the most random situations that have happened over the last week. And so we've tried to keep that up and do that the last couple weeks. And as far as I know, it's just ongoing until we all get back in the swing of things. And I know a few of our guys, because all the campuses are closed, have been able to hang out a little bit and go work on some equipment. And I'm on the broadcast side, so I get some interaction with people, and so it's not as bad. But yeah, especially for the teams that aren't, able to do that, they're not on staff, they're just our volunteers.
Yeah.
I think you just having the camaraderie and talking and what's going on with everyone in life and how you guys doing, like you're saying, that's huge right now for a lot of us to keep that in mind, because we're pretty busy. I think I think one of us said it, like it kind of could lead to burnout a little bit too, because right now it's like everything hit the fan. I know for a lot of my friends who are at different sized churches, their pastors are asking more from them than ever before.
Yeah.
And they're having to navigate, how do I make a service? Go on an FM radio transmitter. Is that even legal? Can I do that? Down to how do I stream something? Do I need equipment? All that. And so we've been able to have a lot of contact with people. But what are you guys experiencing that? Are you experiencing some new challenges from your leadership on how to kind of even do church, or different examples? And what are you guys kind of doing to take advantage of the technology that's out there? I know Living as One's doing a lot. Stream Monkey's been offering a lot. Just what are kind of the challenges you guys are facing, and how are you kind of getting to the other side of it, and how's that all working out? Anyone?
Yeah, I
So
mean, I'll
you guys
talk.
are
I hate to
pros, man. You
dominate the
guys got it.
conversation, but
No,
yeah, I'll
man.
talk. This has been a funny season. So, like I said in the beginning, some buddies and I started a YouTube channel and podcast called Black Bar. So we basically have a community of just people that are learning for the first time how the heck to do any of this. So both of our churches, they're in Michigan, I'm in Maryland. Both of our churches have already been set up to stream. So praise the Lord, we were primed for it. But we've had a flood of people just asking. Like, my phone's blowing up right now, just people in our Discord channel just asking all these questions. So we're seeing all, especially small churches, just trying to get on board with this whole thing. So I know for us, it's been kind of like my church specifically, it's been kind of interesting. I've kind of been the champion of prioritizing online church. I'm having these conversations, especially I've been to SALT in Nashville the past 2 years, great conference. And each time I keep coming back with more and more online stuff, trying to get the pastor to the point where, okay, yeah, online church is valuable. But this whole entire thing has just like pumped a shot of adrenaline in, and now it is forefront of everything. Like all the churches, I mean, really, I'm just seeing all these churches having to entirely rely and transition to online. Even if churches are, I know there's plenty of churches that are not super interested in digital media, which is fine. But there's so many people just trying to figure this out. And I know for us, we just are constantly asking the question, how can we make this a better experience for our people joining? How can we make this visually look more there? That's my field. How can we make the audio mix not be front of house anymore? Now it's online exclusive. Like, so it's intertwined with everything. And yeah, we're hosting kind of like a 4-city team up with the city officials, just trying to get people connected to local organizations that can help and get food. So that's, of course, my field of the digital side is fully impacted, but then also the life groups and the first impressions and the outreach. Like, every single person is now being directly affected by this, which is why I think it's shaking up the church so much right now, is because it's the core. Like, this is the only thing that people can do is either turn to online or hope that they have the safety and the health to connect with people one at a time in person or a phone. So
Yeah, it's awesome. I know my mom's a pastor down in Florida, and her church is smaller. On a great weekend, they'll have like a couple hundred people, and it's just the area that they're in, and the demographic of the church. And she was, I was getting her hooked up with the church online platform and all that stuff. And she was just saying how so many pastors in the area are struggling right now, because it's really making people, like you're saying, it's forcing people to get with it and kind of get to be able to stream, leverage technology in a way that maybe a lot of churches and congregations in the past haven't had to utilize. Which I think kind of brings up a question. It's been awesome seeing so many people sign up for like Church Online and the platform that we've been able to help folks log into and whatnot. But how's it working for you guys? Is this, for some of you, is it the first time that you've had to stream online? Have you been streaming online? If you didn't before, do you think you'll stay streaming? Is it beneficial? What about anything like that? Has anyone kind of experienced that, or what are your thoughts on kind of leading your teams through that kind of talk, and teams not even being your volunteer teams, but maybe the staff that you're on, and kind of this whole transition? I'm sure a lot more of you are speaking into what, hosting looks like, and you have to work with your host team on what that transition looks like for an online experience. So how has that transition to online been going for everyone? You can either add it in the chat, or anyone can speak up. I know I saw one guy, I think it was Deacon, mentioned it was his first time you're back in ministry, and a pretty big learning curve. So you can probably speak to that.
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, a lot. Well, first of all, good afternoon. We're a church out of Columbus, Georgia.
Awesome.
Sunday was our first successful live stream broadcast. So there's a good learning curve in terms of trying to match our live stream experience with the normal church process of using easy worship and some of the other benefits and coordinating with the music ministry. So
Right.
it is different, you know.
Congrats on the stream, though.
Yeah, I made a big deal out of it last Sunday because it was a big accomplishment, you know, for those under 10 that were legally by CDC standards allowed to be in the church. So, I mean, I kind of look forward to getting more integrated in what we are doing. We have some real sharp, dedicated volunteers. We have a lot of challenges from our pastor in terms of technology. One point was mentioned about FM transmitter. Is it legal? Yeah, it's legal, and having a sort of a drive-in type experience. All these things are new. But this is what the, you know what I'm saying, this is what the situation has allowed us to have an opportunity to do. So I kind of look forward to it. And it's kind of nice to sit back and kind of be a fly on the wall or speak to you guys and see what's working in different places. Okay, so I don't want to monopolize too much, but that's us.
It's awesome, man. Yeah, congrats on streaming for the first time. I know when I got my mom streaming, it was a big deal. I was like, "Are you good?" And for me, I do broadcast support for Life.Church, so I don't know. It's like I wake up Sunday mornings, like, what do I do with my hands? I'm used to like checking, is that good for everyone? Is everyone good out there? And like I'm logged on the church online and see the chat, and like, is everyone good out there? You know, and so it's trying to reach out and see how things are going. So it's awesome that you know, it's especially if you're a first time that you're learning the different avenues and how to get out there, and like you said, that learning curve. Did anyone else come with any questions or anything? If you have a question, you can post it. We'll talk about it, or you can bring it up. Don't mind.
I hate to dominate, but I've got a handful of questions.
Bring them on, man.
All right. The first one is, how are you guys as a larger church adjusting to this change?
What change? Anyone else? I'm on the broadcast side. Like I said, it's been somewhat usual in terms like we're getting into a rhythm now, right? So it's like instead of going live on the weekend, now we're moving it up to like midweek, so we have a little bit more time. And we're honestly, our schedule got kind of crazy, and I'll just go ahead and say that there are other guys on the broadcast team that are working right now, and they're a lot more busy than I am. So if anything, the schedule's kind of gone up a bit more. So for us, but as far as like the rhythm goes, you know, like I think it's kind of just shifted from Saturday to the midweek, Saturday, Sunday to kind of midweek things. And it has been an adjustment not having like the campuses to reach out to, or just going into the office and spending a few minutes just hanging out with people. So that's been honestly, like, I think for a lot of us, we feed off each other and enjoy that camaraderie. But as far as broadcast side goes, it's pretty much held the same, and we've just kind of pivoted to support the actual experience, whether it's like running sound, because we can't get a contractor volunteer in, or running ProPresent or anything like that. But Brian, Ryan, Matthew, these guys they do a lot more on the day-to-day with the campuses. If you guys want to speak into that.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's really, like Matt said, it's really shifted our energy from Saturday, Sunday to really Tuesday, Wednesday. Trying to get into a rhythm on that side, just to make sure that we've got plenty of time to get everything captured and then turn back around and spit out to everywhere. And then, you know, I'd say it's probably freed up our support on the weekend. Like, we're not having to be as locked in as we are typically. But you know what? It's like somebody said earlier, it's freed us up to also during the week to take care of some things that we've had on the back burner. And that's, you know, things like preventive maintenance at campuses. We've been sending guys out, you know, 2 at a time. They just can't drive to the campus together. They have to go in separate vehicles. And we're locked down to what we can do within Oklahoma. Basically, we've said you can't really leave Oklahoma. Ross is the only employee who has left the state of Oklahoma to go do something remotely. And that's just because we're building a campus in Arkansas and he needed to go over there and get them going on that. But, from on a weekly basis right now, we're handling things like preventive maintenance at campuses, making sure that everything that we can do while nobody's there is done. One thing we were talking about earlier today is we've got a campus up in Stillwater that's about 45 minutes away that we need to rewire their front of house. And that campus typically has events on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday. They don't have services on Saturday, but Sunday through Thursday, they've got something nearly every day, especially while school's in. So right now we've got a window that we can take advantage of, and we're going to actually shift some things so we can get in. And so Ryan, Caleb, Brian, I know you guys may not have talked to Keith about this already, but we're going to be doing that here fairly quickly, just FYI.
Sweet.
But, there's some stuff
I
like
need to run.
I know Ryan has been spending a lot of time doing some training materials. I put on the document that I uploaded, tech.life.church. And what that is what we noticed a couple years ago was that we had a lot of knowledge in our head that when it came to supporting our campuses, that, we were having to, just field questions, and we were thinking, what's the best way to get that information out to people? And that was to put it in the hands of our volunteers through it's just a simple website. But as we get more materials and issues we deal with, we can hand it off to them and they can fix it themselves at the campuses rather than always having to call us. So that's what Ryan, I know, has been spending a lot of time lately developing content for that, whether that's training videos, like the whole preventive maintenance process is something that we're looking to actually hand off to the volunteers. And we've got the content there. We're creating the videos of how do you actually, clean a projector? What does it look like to clean a moving light or a house light, or to scrub a microphone capsule? Little things like that takes time on our side if we have to go do it, but if we can hand it off to a volunteer at the campus and put that ownership and responsibility on campus, we're able to replicate ourselves down and build the roots of our team. And we're not having to add headcount to our team, but we're still getting the same amount of work done. So that's kind of the process that we're flowing through right now. Even though we're not all in the same place, in the office and breaking and going, but we're all working somewhat remotely, we're still maintaining our normal rhythm of functionality throughout the week between our various teams that sit within our tech team. Does that make sense at all?
Yeah, if you don't mind me backtracking a little bit. So I'm not, I'm a little familiar with everything that's going on with you guys, but of course I've had to focus on us. Are you guys broadcasting on Tuesday, Wednesday, or are you pre-recording is what you're talking about?
Pre-record. Yeah, we pre-record and then push it out on, our first service is Saturday at 4:00. So we're trying to maintain, it's kind of a mix of what our normal service times are in addition to the church online schedule. So we didn't used to have a 4 and a 5:30 on Saturday, but now that we're pre-producing, we're pushing it out. So the people who are who that's their normal time to go to church on Saturday are able to continue that same, rhythm of life.
And we also added a midweek kind of sermonette type thing. It's a lot shorter, and so that was another reason why we pushed things up to a Tuesday, Wednesday kind of schedule, so that we could have those pushed out by either Wednesday or Thursday of each week. So we actually, talking about rhythms, we actually added some more stuff on the broadcast side. So that's been interesting. But Brian, Ryan, Matthew, any of you guys kind of have anything in terms of what it's been like for you guys?
Greg, you hit on a lot of it. We're trying to keep the same rhythms, just shifting focus a little bit, because the things that normally drove our week and drove our to-do lists and everything, they're not happening right now. So for us, preventative maintenance, rainy day checklists, but also my focus has started to kind of shift off of tasks. Basically, conversations have shifted off of tasks and tactical things and information to really strictly pastoral. And it's become a lot more of like, how can I pray for you? What do you need? What does your church need? What do your people need? And so that's been a shift of focus, which we're all pastors. But in the tech world, we get task driven very fast. And so I've really tried to use this time to capitalize and just really spend some time getting to know people outside of Life.Church or in other churches that are doing what we're doing technically, and build those relationships that way. Use that time now to build relationships for later when we're all, in the weeds again, we're all getting down, and we can just touch base and just say, hey man, how you doing? Just a random touch here and there, so that we can just love on more people,
Ryan, why don't you talk a little bit about like what you're talking about this morning about identifying the technical leaders?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, right now what that looks like is I just shot out to really one of the guys on our Life.Church worship team. His like relational skills are just through the roof, and he knows everybody. So I shot out to him, and he got me some contacts with people in the area, and we just started calling them and texting them and emailing and just like, hey, I'm from Life.Church. I'm so sorry we haven't met yet. Like, this should have happened. But we haven't had the chance to meet. So let's use this time to get to know each other. And that's kind of spiraled a couple of different conversations. Honestly, my day kind of filled up today with people I've never met before with no agenda. We just got to talk. And that's been huge. I'm an extrovert, so it's huge for me to be able to have that connection with new people. And we've just been bouncing ideas off of each other of how we can be pastoring and ministering to people when we can't go see them. We can't talk to them physically,
Yeah, in the past, over the years, like I've not hesitated to reach out when I feel like, if I think of a friend that I haven't talked to in a long time, like I don't care. Like I just text them and ask them how they're doing. And during this time, I really have tried to listen to that. And yesterday I sent like 6 or 8 texts to people I haven't talked to in a year. But just saying, hey, what's going on? How you doing? And that prompted one of the guys that lives in New Hampshire. I mean, we talked for like 8 hours through text, and found all about his church and stuff like that. I've really been trying to listen to that, and really also, I think Ryan said this, but really pry into their answers. Like, oh yeah, we're doing good, we're doing well, like, well, what does well mean? And one guy replied yesterday a little inappropriately, but he's like, well, our temp's gone and we didn't need a ventilator. So, but he was just kidding. But other than that, like rainy day list, yeah, major. I mean, I've been working through some spreadsheets for the past 2 weeks, and I hit my limit like every day, like, I can't do this anymore. But I've really been trying to focus and dive really deep into that stuff that I've been putting off for a year. So that's where I come from. I'm a project manager, so anytime we do renovations or launch a portable campus or launch a new building, some of those have been put on hold. Most of them have not. So long term, they're put on hold, the ones that are further out, but the ones that we're still actively working on, they're still active. So
yeah. Greg, this time brought me back to the Eat Your Frog email you sent with, you're having those lists and pushing things off. I've had on my to-do list our inventory project forever, and it says this is the frog. And as soon as this whole thing happened, we started doing the inventory project that we've been putting off. It was like I erased that and finally said, this is almost done. So that's getting those tasks done that nobody wanted. This is the time for it for sure, especially pastoring to people and building those relations. Bring a little more light to the world.
It's not something that I've not wanted to do, but it should, it's not necessarily a frog, but it's the things that I've never, or everybody, it's the thing that kind of gets put on last because church can
Not super mission critical.
text that person, which
Someone need to explain what the frog is.
yeah, I'll just go ahead. Basically, the frog is the thing on your list that you keep putting off and you don't want to do. So doing the dishes is that for me, like it's on the to-do and I just I put it off forever. So that's like my general frog. But a while back, Greg had sent us an email about eating that frog. Like just
See if I can find that link.
Yeah, it'd be cool to post it in the chat.
Yeah. Keep talking about it though.
That's pretty much it. I mean, it's in a broad scheme, it's find the stuff that you don't want to do that you keep putting off and do that first. Another guy wrote it that you eat the frosting before the cake or you eat the cake before the frosting. That type of analogy is really popular. But basically, if you want the frosting, eat the frosting last. Do the part that you don't really want to do first, and that opens up the rest of your day for productivity.
I just posted that link. So. What else?
We talked about.
We had about 20 minutes left before my coffee gets cold, and I need to leave. So.
I did want to. Sorry to keep coming back to this and keep dominating, but I did have a pre-recording question, trying to pitch to my pastor how pre-recording is better than live. What is your guys' philosophy on that?
Philosophy. I think that the preference is always going to be live, just because you're in the moment. I know I was having some conversations with the guys from Elevation this last week, and Pastor Stephen he wants to be live because he wants to be where the people are. Now, when I say where the people are, that's when they're used to being at church is those times. And so I know they're having to change kind of what they've been doing and going back to more of a live produced weekend. I would say the way that we're doing ours on a pre-produced side has the same look and feel of being live. And the other piece of it is that when you put it in perspective of what we do on a weekly basis, the majority of our attendees actually see the message through a screen. So it doesn't really change how they're viewing it because we're shooting it the same. They're just watching it through their TV instead of on a 26-foot screen or whatever. So from that side, for the majority of our attendees, it's not that big of a difference, other than they're sitting on their couch rather than in a building. From our side, from a workflow, it allows us. I would say it's slightly modified, but it's not significantly different because it allows us to clean up a few things, make a few transitions. We shoot worship a little bit differently because we've got some people on stage. Basically, what it's given us is the ability to try some things that we've wanted to do for the last almost year. That we're actually, because we're in a pre-produced environment, we can actually experiment a little bit and I say that we've really been trying to make the church online experience more immersive when it comes to what is the visual feel of that and how can we do that. So we've added some wireless cameras during this window that we don't normally have. We've added some movement. Like we already shoot with a lot of movement because our cameras are all robotic and they're on tracks, and so they're constantly moving. We've added a little bit more of that so that it's more of a concert shoot feel than it is static cameras for worship, but some of that's just been driven because we've got the opportunity to do it. But when it comes down to the preference, I think Craig's preference is always going to be he wants to be live. He wants to be in a room full of people. He does not like speaking to an empty room. That's like when we do pre-produced messages normally, we usually try to fill the room or at least have several hundred people who can come and participate because he feeds off that energy. He used to do it to an empty room, and we started getting 150, 200 people in there. He really started feeding off that energy, and it made it he felt that much stronger about what he was delivering because he could gauge their responses and all that. So I think on our workflow, so all that to wrap up, on our workflow side, yeah, we love pre-produce. We love having the control of that. We don't have the variables of, oh crap, you know, we lost satellite, or we lost, you know, network feed, or it glitched and we lost it, or, you know, we take those variables out because we can control that. I think from a speaker side, the live is always going to be the preferential go.
Yeah, and I think there's been conversations too that we've had just kind of as a team where we're spitting out ideas, and there's a guy on our broadcast team, his name's Steve-O. It's not his real name, but it's a nickname. It's like he's a pretty funny guy. We're like talking about ideas. He's like, I have an idea. Let's just do it live. Everything. He's like, let's just do it live. And I think he cuts the worship side that you see for the church online. So there's some guys who their preference is just from a technical side, not really from the speaker side, of just like feeling the moment, being a part of, you know, worship and just shooting it and going for it. Do one take, what we get's what we got, and roll with it. But then you have the church online guys, and that's not what they're used to. And so it's like, hey, can we do a few different cuts of worship? So it's gotten short. Like the first week we did it, we spent dang near the whole day doing worship shoot, and it was pretty exhausting. It was frustrating for some people. It was frustrating for the worship band because they're used to coming in on Saturday, doing a run through, sound check, and you know, they get their shots in there, or they just come in the weekend and they do it. And so they've had to even pivot a bit more too, you know. So I think there's the preference for sure of a communicator like Craig had. He had more people in the room this week preaching in a good social distance from each other. But it's like, I think in his first 10 minutes, he's like, I can't preach to an empty room anymore, you know. And so the benefits of pre-produced is you have all the ability and more time, you know, and then you have other guys who just prefer to feel it live, which is probably why Elevation's doing that, like Greg mentioned. You know, I think that whole, you know, Stephen feeds off people. He feeds off of that moment, and so I think that'll probably work out really good for them. But I think it's just the comfort of your team and your leadership, your pastor, whatever he kind of wants. We could do either. If Craig said this weekend, you know what, scrap the message and let's do it live, we could do it. It would be no different. It just all comes down to comfort, I think, too, for whoever's
and I'm going to clarify just when I say about Elevation, they're still shooting to an empty room. It's not any different than that. It's just that the live time is, when they go live, it's actually live.
Yeah.
So do you guys have any tips just in general for just any team that is a part of your production, and how to just most optimize the people that you do have for these shoots, whether it's live, whether it's pre-recorded? You guys just have any tips for those, anywhere on the streaming plane?
On the streaming plan, you know, I think when we look at what we've done, just the last 3 to 4 weeks of how we've had to scale, we've kind of gone with what are our essentials and what do we need, who do we need in those seats, how can we plan ahead, what can we control and what is out of our control, and create enough margin in those times that we can cut out as many variables as possible and yet be reactive when we need to. So, you know, when we first found out we were going to be going to this, you know, basically going online for everything, you know, it's like Matt said, it really didn't change what we do or how we do it a whole lot. But what it did change was we needed to have a plan going into what we were doing, not just being comfortable with, here's a 4 o'clock, oh, we're going to get another shot at it at 5:30. And if that doesn't work, we're going to get another shot at 10. We really want to try to lock it down so that when we walk in, everybody is prepared, and we honor everybody's time that's there, so that we're not overly exposing everybody to potential, you know, sickness or whatever, but that way everybody can get in, get out, and go on about their life. You know, I think from an overall production side, when we look at what we do, even down to the point of what our pre-production meetings are, those have gotten, it started off where there was like, 25 or 30 people in the room, and now it's scaled back now to where there's, you know, 15, 16 in there, and they're kind of the voice of those various teams. They take the information that's shared and then disseminate that to the people that need to know. And that's not even like, I wouldn't say all of those people that are in the room are the team leaders of those teams. They're just the right representative who brings the ability to communicate effectively and cast the vision for what's going to be coming down the pipe. You know, when you look at various teams, you got some who are flexible and want to try new things. They're innovative, and there's some who are like, this is the way we've always done it, and why change? Those are not the people that you want to have necessarily in those decision-making times where you're trying to be innovative. You want to stretch that. You want to be able, but you got to have the right people in there to be able to see the potential and act on it, and be willing to take the risk. That's hard. Sometimes I got to say that's hard for me. I'm what you would call an ESTJ. I like things very concrete. I like known wins. I don't like risk. I don't like surprises. So sometimes when we're trying new things, our team can attest to this. We have a lot of conversations before we make significant changes. Now, sometimes I think as my team can relate, sometimes I will what they call backtivate. And so it's like, let's just make a decision and go and try it. And if it blows up, I own it, you know. That's my role and my responsibility as a leader. Sometimes we don't have to have all the answers to move on. And that's okay. And so when it comes, like in this season right now, I'm probably more in that, let's try some stuff. What's the risk? If it sucks and blows up, we have a little bit of margin to try it again. And so I don't know. What else? I mean, our team, Life.Church guys, what am I missing here?
Yeah, I think you've nailed it, man. Brian, were you gonna say something?
Exactly what you said. Nailed it. It's just a lot of changes, a lot of shift of focus, but you know, like Greg said, having the right minded people to want to take the risk, but also having the right minded people to know when the risk might not be the best. Having those teams cohesive and getting through the season definitely is going to be challenging for some, maybe more challenging than others, but they say teamwork makes the dream work. Keep your teams close when you can.
Well, anyone else have we got about 9 minutes or so left. Anyone else have anything you came to the table with and you want to talk about real quick, or you can post in the chat, or just speak it out?
Hey everyone, my name is Desiree Elliott.
Hey there.
I am glad that I was able to come in and speak with you all today and listen to all of your, trials and tribulations and also triumphs as it relates to the live broadcast and everything else during these times. As Deacon Moore said, we belong to the same church. And we were kind of pushed into the live stream. It was the years of trying to get it up and running, but this circumstance has kind of pushed us to getting it done, which has been a blessing. But with that being said, we're learning as we're going. What are some recommended trainings in your go-to places to learn and stay up to date with the latest tech info and all of that good stuff?
Well, like do you have any specific areas, or for us, a lot of times we learn from each other. We'll bounce ideas off of other churches. There's a lot of churches who are friends of ours, it's times like this where there's, a group of 20 or so where you start developing those relationships and networking, and they become your people that you bounce ideas off of. So when it comes to trying new stuff, like there's a lot of times, I think about when we were doing our the broadcast update, and we needed to bring in a Vista Spider, and we didn't know what we were doing with it, and we called up Church of the Highlands, and they had already gone through this whole mess with all their stuff, and they were like, they really walked Ross, who's on the call, walked him through how to do some of that setup, and we bounced ideas off of them. So we learn from other people, and they're just like this. We learn from what the things that they've gone through and the lessons that they've learned, and the resources that they've already expended. So we don't have to necessarily go through that same learning process. But there's things, like at some conferences that we'll go to, or trade shows. For video, a lot of times we learn a lot at NAB. And just kind of going through and seeing everything that's out there. A lot of times we'll go to that trade show with the mentality of, here are the things we want to learn from it, and we'll kind of create a list and we'll go check those things out. Same thing with like an LDI, or in the past was probably WFX. Philo's another one that's a good one. That there's a lot of good technical guys that are out there that are and ladies that are out there teaching at that. SALT is another one. But just, I think for us, most of the time, it's what is the issue we're trying to solve, and what's the best, where can we just go and learn?
Yeah.
And so if there's specific things like, there's a lot of times like Tyson that's on the call. Tyson works with Summit Integrated out of Denver, and they're our main integrator that we work with. And so there's times where we're trying to figure things out, and we'll go, hey, we got this idea, and he's got a team of people there that's a huge resource that we'll bounce ideas off of them. They'll kind of come back with a solution, and we'll go back and forth and those types of things. So I can't point you into one specific place. I mean, if there's specific things like, if it's audio training, I would look at all your main manufacturers. Like we are a Yamaha house, so all of our consoles are Yamaha. So they've got a lot of good training stuff that's out there. Shure Microphones, they create a lot of good things when it comes to just training. From a video side.
Greg, if I could interrupt for just a second, if you put it in the chat too, but like, especially right now, manufacturers are just like throwing training and throwing web things and like webinars and all sorts of stuff. They are launching it all over. So if you have any manufacturer, like now is the time to spend the time that you are not really doing much with, to just sit and learn. And like, I have half of my calendar is webinars and Q&As and trainings and things of stuff that we've been using for, like me personally, like almost 10 years. And at Life.Church, three years or so, like we've been using it forever. We might think we know what's going on with it, but then this guy who made it tells me a little bit more. And so like take advantage of those trainings right now, because they're normally not free. They're like $700 normally, and I'm going to go watch it on YouTube after we get done here. So take advantage of those things. Just identify what you want to learn about and seek those out. They're normally posted on Facebook, YouTube, like they're
MXU is another one from they've got a lot of audio, and now they've actually got lighting on there with it as well, and they're posting those on YouTube. So, and those are guys that we trust with the things that especially with the knowledge that they're bringing. They're some of the best out there.
This was so helpful. Thanks, y'all.
Yeah, no problem. There's also another, it's called soundpro.com. And I signed up years ago they have good deals on gear stuff. And I signed up years ago. I know Greg gets these because he forwarded them to our team, but they've been collecting like all the links from the different manufacturers, and they're just throwing it and sending these emails out. So if you don't need gear, you can still sign up for their newsletter. And right now you'll get links directly to all the different manufacturers and training. I just put their website in there, and they've been an awesome resource for honestly just to have a single location where all of these trainings are. So I'd definitely go and sign up there. Greg, any last thoughts?
No, I mean, we're going to do this again next Thursday. Same time, same bat time, same bat channel, you know, like we're going to do the same thing, just hang out. I think next week, what are we talking about, Matt?
Next week, if you guys want to talk about more of the service and support side, we'll get these guys talking a lot more and how you can keep maintenance up, what they're doing right now to kind of keep all that rolling and things like that.
Yep. So we're gonna do this. I think for a few more. You know, we'll see what the turnout is. I mean, I think we had about 25 on today at one point. Hopefully that that grows. But I think that's a good number. I'm very pleased with this initial call, just because I love the conversation that we've been having. So we'll probably be doing this I would say at least until summer, and we may extend it into summer and keep doing it if it's if we still want to keep doing it across the board, So, if you guys have any questions or whatever anymore, just feel free to hit us up. I think there's So Matt's got the little link that's there. Feel free to hit us up if you got any specific questions that we didn't talk about. And otherwise we'll be back next week and talking about how do we service and support our campuses. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, thank you guys. We'll see you next week.
See you guys.
See y'all.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
You bet.